One day, a stray puppy kept following Kate Middleton, and what happened next will bring you to tears. Kate Middleton stepped out of Buckingham Palace while the late afternoon light cast a soft glow on the surrounding gardens. She had just finished attending an important engagement and was making her way to the waiting car when she noticed something unusual near the palace gates. A small, scruffy puppy lingered just beyond the barriers, its fur matted and tail tucked between its legs. Despite its timid posture, its bright eyes were fixed on Kate. She paused for a moment, glancing at the animal. It was rare to see a stray in this part of London, especially one so close to the palace. As Kate walked toward her car, she noticed the puppy taking hesitant steps, following her at a distance. It stopped every time she turned her head, but resumed trailing her as soon as she faced forward. Amused and curious, Kate slowed her pace, allowing the puppy to catch up slightly. Its persistence caught her attention, and she couldn't help but smile. By the time she reached her car, the little dog had edged closer. The faint sound of its soft whimper made her heart ache, but before she could act, a member of her security detail stepped forward to intervene. "Your Royal Highness, shall we escort it away?" one of the security guards asked, motioning toward the puppy. Kate hesitated, glancing down at the trembling animal. "No," she replied softly. "Let's leave it for now. It presents no danger." As she stepped into the car, the puppy circled nearby, its eyes still locked on her. The vehicle began to move slowly, but to her surprise, the little dog trotted after them along the edge of the street. "Stop the car for a moment," Kate instructed. The driver obeyed, and she rolled down her window to watch the puppy. It stopped a few feet away, tilting its head as if it were trying to understand her actions. Kate opened the door and stepped out. The puppy backed away slightly, unsure of her movements, but it didn't run. She crouched down, extending her hand gently toward it. "What are you doing here, little one?" she asked, her tone warm and inviting. But it was only after this stray puppy still kept following Kate that something tear-jerking would happen. The puppy didn't approach, but it didn't flee either. Its tail gave a tiny, cautious wag. After a few moments of quiet observation, Kate stood again and walked a few steps forward. The puppy, ever determined, resumed following her, now slightly closer. Palace security grew concerned. "Your Royal Highness, we can call animal control," one of them suggested. Kate shook her head. "Let's see what it does. It's just a puppy. No need to frighten it." The little dog followed Kate all the way to the edge of the palace grounds. It was clearly hungry, its thin frame shivering from the chill in the air. Kate couldn't ignore the sight any longer. She turned to one of her staff members. "Do we have anything I can give it? A snack, perhaps?" A small package of biscuits was retrieved from her bag, and Kate knelt down to offer a piece to the puppy. She placed the biscuit on the ground and stepped back, giving the animal space. The puppy hesitated for a moment, its nose twitching as it sniffed the air. Tentatively, it crept forward, snatched the biscuit, and retreated to a safe distance to eat. The crowd of onlookers that had gathered behind the palace gates was moved by the simple act of kindness. Kate smiled as the puppy finished the treat and looked up at her, tail wagging faintly. She reached out again, this time holding a biscuit in her hand. Slowly, the puppy inched closer and gently took the food from her fingers. "You're a brave one," she murmured, stroking its head lightly. The puppy flinched at first, but then leaned into her touch. As she continued to pet the dog, people in the crowd began taking photos, their cameras capturing the tender moment. Kate glanced up briefly, her expression soft yet firm. "Let's not frighten it," she told her staff, motioning for the crowd to stay quiet. The puppy, sensing it was safe, lay down at her feet, its trust in her growing by the second. Kate's heart swelled as she watched the small creature finally relax. For a moment, it seemed as though the puppy knew it had found someone who cared. As Kate continued to kneel beside the scruffy little puppy, gently petting its head, a woman from the small crowd behind the palace gates stepped forward hesitantly. She looked to be in her mid-40s, dressed in a simple coat, and had a kind face framed by wisps of wind-blown hair. The woman cleared her throat nervously as one of Kate's security guards moved to stop her from getting too close. Kate, noticing the woman's approach, gave a small nod, signaling everything was all right. "Your Royal Highness," the woman began, her voice tinged with concern. "I think I know that puppy." Kate turned her gaze from the dog to the woman, her brow furrowed with curiosity. "You've seen it before?" she asked. The woman nodded, glancing at the trembling animal at Kate's feet. "Yes, I've noticed it around here for at least a few days now. Poor thing looks like it's been abandoned. It's always hanging near the gates, as if it's waiting for someone to come back for it." Kate's expression softened, but there was a hint of sadness in her eyes. She looked back at the puppy, which was now curled up by her knees, its trust in her growing with every passing moment. "Abandoned?" she echoed, her voice barely above a whisper. "Yes," the woman continued, stepping a little closer. "I work nearby, and I've passed this area a few times this week. The first time I saw it, it was wandering around aimlessly, sniffing the air like it was looking for food. It looked terrified of everyone at first, but didn't run far. It's like it doesn't know where to go." Kate let out a soft sigh, her hand resting gently on the puppy's frail back. The thought of this small, helpless creature being left alone in the bustling city streets was heart-wrenching. "No one's come forward to claim it?" she asked, her tone tinged with both concern and disbelief. The woman shook her head. "Not that I know of. I thought about calling someone, but I didn't know who would help. And the little thing doesn't seem to trust people easily. You're the first person I've seen it approach like this." Hearing the woman's words, Kate felt an overwhelming sense of responsibility for the puppy's well-being. She glanced at her team, who were standing nearby, waiting for her direction. "We can't leave it like this," she said firmly. "It needs help." Her assistant nodded, already pulling out a phone. "I'll contact a local animal rescue," the assistant said, stepping aside to make the call. Kate returned her focus to the puppy, which was now gazing up at her with wide, trusting eyes. The bond they had formed in such a short time was undeniable. She continued to stroke its fur, speaking softly to it as if to reassure the tiny creature that it was no longer alone. "What's your story, little one?" Kate murmured, more to herself than anyone else. The woman, still standing nearby, offered another thought. "You know, it might have belonged to someone who couldn't take care of it anymore. It happens more than people think. Times are hard for many, and sometimes pets are the ones who suffer." The idea that someone might have abandoned the puppy out of desperation rather than cruelty only deepened Kate's compassion. She nodded, taking a moment to compose herself. "No animal should have to go through this," she said softly. As the rescue team was contacted, Kate made it clear to her staff that the puppy's safety was her priority. "Make sure they know it needs immediate care," she instructed, "and please follow up with them after it's taken in. I want to know it's in good hands." The passerby gave Kate a grateful smile. "Thank you, Your Royal Highness. Not everyone would take the time to care." Kate returned the smile, but her attention quickly went back to the puppy. "Sometimes the smallest actions can make the biggest difference," she replied, her voice filled with quiet determination. As they waited for the animal rescue team to arrive, Kate stayed by the puppy's side, gently comforting it. Though it had endured days of hardship, it now seemed at peace, as if it knew it was finally safe. As the minutes passed while waiting for the rescue team, Kate continued to comfort the small puppy. She sat on the edge of the pavement, heedless of the curious crowd gathering nearby, her focus entirely on the trembling animal at her feet. "You've been through so much, haven't you?" she murmured softly, her voice soothing and steady. Her fingers moved gently over the puppy's scruffy fur, careful not to startle it. The little dog, now more relaxed, let out a small sigh and curled up closer to her. The growing trust between them warmed Kate's heart. For the first time, the puppy's tail wagged faintly, a small but significant gesture of hope. Kate smiled, encouraged by the progress. She continued speaking to it in a calm tone, as though it could understand her words. "You're safe now. We'll make sure you're taken care of." One of her assistants approached and informed her that the rescue team would arrive shortly. Kate nodded, but remained by the puppy's side, unwilling to leave it alone even for a moment. As she stroked the puppy's head, an idea began to form in her mind. She had always been passionate about animal welfare, but this situation felt personal. Looking at the vulnerable creature beside her, Kate realized she couldn't just hand it over to the rescue team and walk away. "I want to make sure it gets the care it needs," she said decisively, turning to her staff. "We'll accompany it to the rescue center and follow through on its recovery." Her assistant hesitated. "Would you like us to arrange that for you, Your Royal Highness?" Kate shook her head. "No, I'd like to be involved personally. This little one deserves that much." Her resolve was clear. The puppy, sensing the gentle energy around it, let out a tiny yawn and rested its head on her foot. The sight solidified Kate's decision. This wasn't just an act of kindness. It was a commitment to seeing the puppy through to a better future. By the time the rescue team arrived, Kate had already decided on the next step. Instead of simply handing the puppy over, she arranged to bring it back to her home temporarily. "We'll foster it," she announced to her staff, "at least until it's strong enough to find a forever home." The rescue team agreed, grateful for Kate's involvement, and helped transport the puppy safely to the palace. When Kate arrived home with the small bundle of fur in her arms, her family was taken by surprise. Prince George, Princess Charlotte, and Prince Louis immediately rushed to see the new arrival. "Mummy, is this our new dog?" Charlotte asked excitedly, crouching down to get a closer look at the puppy. "It's not ours," Kate explained with a gentle smile. "We're taking care of it for now, until it finds a proper home, but we'll make sure it's happy and healthy while it's with us." The children were overjoyed nonetheless. George suggested naming the puppy Buddy, while Charlotte offered Poppy, and Louis chimed in with an enthusiastic Fluffy. The debate over names quickly turned into laughter as the children took turns petting and playing with the dog. The puppy, though still timid, wagged its tail at the warm reception. It seemed to sense it was in a safe and loving place. Watching her children bond with the puppy, Kate felt a sense of fulfillment. That evening, the family prepared a cozy bed for their new guest and ensured it had plenty of food and water. Prince William, though surprised by the unexpected addition, supported Kate's decision. "It looks like you've made a new friend," he teased her, watching the puppy follow her around the room. "Yes," Kate replied with a soft smile, "and I intend to do everything I can to help." In the days that followed, Kate decided to share the puppy's story with the public. Through a statement and photos, she highlighted the importance of adopting stray and abandoned animals, encouraging others to consider opening their homes to pets in need. The story quickly gained attention, with thousands moved by the tale of the stray puppy that had found hope outside Buckingham Palace. Donations poured into local animal shelters, enabling them to rescue and care for more animals. Kate's efforts sparked a wave of compassion, with many people stepping forward to adopt pets of their own. The puppy, now stronger and healthier, became a symbol of kindness and second chances. It played happily with Kate's children during its time with them, bringing joy to the family. Though the day came when the puppy found a permanent home with a loving family, its impact on the royals and the public remained profound. For Kate, it was a reminder that even small acts of compassion could inspire meaningful change. And for the puppy, it was a new beginning, one filled with love, security, and hope. What do you think about how Kate acted towards this puppy? Do you know any other heartwarming stories you'd like to share? If you do, we'd love to hear from you. So please leave a comment below. Thanks for watching. We will see you in the next video.